Hey friends, it's Shauna from glittergivesomemore.com. I sell glitter tumblers, and ready-to-use water slide. If you have a minute to head on over and check out the website, it's always appreciated. We're going to do a quick video on how we created this footprints water slide glitter tumbler. I started by using a matte Mod Podge on a 20-ounce prepped and spray painted skinny tumbler, and I'm swirling the glitter on and allowing some drop down to create an ombre from one color to the next. The first glitter color we're using is Daydreams, followed by 7 Seas, and with 7 Seas we're going to go on either side of that Daydreams glitter to create sort of like the beach on either side of the sand. We're going to follow 7 Seas with Sea Surge. Again, going on either side to create the ombre. And then the last color we're going to do the rest of the cup in is going to be Deep Dive, and that's going to fill in the entire back of the cup and create an ombre into Sea Surge on either side as well. With the Mod Podge method, we're going to allow that to dry completely before we come back and do a second layer of glitter. Now in the second layer of glitter we're going to do a few changes. You'll see them as we go in terms of the order of the glitter that we put it on. But we're going to start by dry brushing to make sure that there's no loose glitters that will gunk up our Mod Podge brush and be spread across the cup. So I use a hard bristle brush to remove the loose glitter before going in with my matte Mod Podge and putting a smooth layer of Mod Podge over top of that first layer. And I do have to apologize that I've been MIA for a few months. My oldest son graduated high school and is heading off to college come August, so we had some celebration going on in our family, and I took some time off to enjoy that. So I appreciate you guys being patient with me. But now I am back to work and ready to make videos. If you want to make these cups, or if you've made anything with my glitters and you want to share them with me, I did create a small crafting group called Glitter Give Some More Glitter and Crafting. If you want to join that, I'll link it in the comments. I'd love to see what you're making. So once you have your Mod Podge smooth, you are going to add your gold glitter again. Now I did change up the glitter that I'm being used. I decided Daydreams was a little too gold for the look I was going for, so I'm using Shimmering Sand on the second layer of glitter over top of where Daydreams was. And I'm going to do the same thing I did the first time, where there's a little bit of a drop down on either side to create an ombre effect instead of having harsh lines. After Shimmering Sands, I'm going to come in with 7 Seas on either side of the Shimmering Sands, letting it drop down into the next color and come into the sand color as well. Just trying to avoid those sharp lines in the transitions. Now we are going to have some other colors come in here and some waves and such, so if it's not a perfect ombre, it's not that big of a deal. We're just making an attempt to have a little bit of a fade in there. We're going to come in now with Deep Dive, and that's going to fill in the ombre section against 7 Seas, and we're also going to fill in the entire back of the cup. I don't know if I've mentioned it already, I do have a footprints glitter bundle in my shop. If you wanted to get all of these colors in one fell swoop, you can just order the glitter bundle from glittergivesomemore.com, or you can just pick and choose the colors that you want to use and order them individually as well. So I'm going back through now and putting a little bit more of the Shimmering Sand in before I come in with Sea Surge. And I'm putting Sea Surge in the same place it was for the first layer of glitter, where it's going in between 7 Seas and Deep Dive, but I'm putting it on top of the glitter and then I'm pushing it into the Mod Podge so that it stays. And this just creates a little bit more depth and dimension than if I would have just done the straight ombre, because these are mostly iridescent glitters. They'll pick up the tones underneath and it just makes it a smoother transition. Now after this, I also am going to come in with Moon Mist, which is a white iridescent glitter, and apply it the same way, but I'm going to apply it in between Shimmering Sand and 7 Seas, and I'm going to apply it just the same, where I sprinkle it on top, and then smush it in with my finger to get it into the Mod Podge so that it sticks. Now some of this will absolutely brush off when you do your dry brushing after everything is dry, but I love the different dimension it gives by doing it this route instead of just doing a straight ombre section of the glitter by itself. So we're going to pat that in. We're going to remove the tape and let it dry before we dry brush again. See how pretty that looks. I love that on top. Now I do pat down my rim to make it smoother, and then when I remove my tape I'll pat down that bottom edge as well, just to make it easier to get a smooth line with epoxy. Then we let it dry, put on a first layer of epoxy, and then we'll come back in and add the waves. Now I'm using UV resin for the waves this time around, and I'm using a white dye epoxy, both of which will be linked in the comments if you want to give it a try. This is just a method that I was trying because I didn't want the swirls that I get with normal white epoxy, well, normal epoxy with white dye. I didn't want it to swirl around the cup. I wanted to have more control over keeping it right there at the edge of like the beach area. So I'm putting a line of the white epoxy, and then I'm putting a line of the clear epoxy, and then I'm using a straw to mix the two. And the UV resin doesn't cure like without UV light or direct sunlight for whatever length of time the resin you're using requires. So you have a little bit more playtime with it, so you can do different things to get the depth into the dimension that you want. So like you just seen, I'm blowing on it with the straw, I'm going through with a silicone squeegee. You do want to be mindful of how thick you have it, because it will add a little bit of depth that'll make it a little harder to like a three-dimensional depth, which will make it a little harder to get smooth, so you'll have to sand it. So keep it, you know, skinnier at this point, and it'll be easier later. So now we are using a UV light to cure that, and I'm going to go through and do the other side, and then I'm going to sand everything smooth, and we're going to add another layer of epoxy. I do put silver sand, which is a really super fine glitter, into my epoxy to add some sparkle. I do this in almost every cup that I do with at least the first or second layer of glitter, just to add a little bit of sparkle. Now silver sand is not in the glitter bundle for the Footprints cup, but it can be purchased separately. So we're just doing a thin layer of epoxy to bring out the shine again and to make it smooth so that it's ready for the clear water slide decal, which will be the next step. And by having that little bit of sparkle in the epoxy, it's also adding just a hint of sparkle to the top of the waves as well. If you don't want the sparkle in the top of the waves, but you still want to use the epoxy additive, you can do it on your first layer of epoxy before you do your waves, and then your waves will stay just white with no sparkle. So this is after everything is cured. We're going to do our water slide decal. You want to make sure you have a shiny surface underneath where your water slide is going to go. So you don't want to sand that area out underneath a clear water slide decal, because it will show that matte area and it won't shine back up when you add the next layer of epoxy. You can spray the area with a gloss spray paint if you do need to sand it. Just make sure that you get it nice and glossy before you lay your water slide. So I'm putting down my first layer, or my first water slide decal, and I'm using a silicone squeegee to pull all the water out from behind it, get all of the lumps, bumps, and ridges out, and then I will go through and dry it with a paper towel. And I want the footprints to go all the way to the top of the cup, so I have a second section of the footprints that I'm going to cut just a few footprints from, to place at that top area where the footprints didn't quite go all the way to the cup. You can totally do your footprints with vinyl or glitter or any other method you like for decals. I just prefer water slides, so that is what I used. Once your water slide decals are placed and dried, you're going to do a final layer of epoxy, and then your cup is all set. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or comment below. If you want to show us what you're working on, I'd love to see it. Feel free to join the Facebook group, which will also be in the links in the item or the video description. I can't wait to see what you guys are making. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.